Do you know what the Mandela effect is? It's when many people believe that something happened when, in reality, it never did. The name refers to a mass false memory involving numerous people admitting to remembering Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. If you know enough about your history, you know that Mandela lived until 2013, even served as president in the mid-90s. Now, I'm not saying I'm suffering from the Mandela effect because I don't think enough people misremember the 2018 La Traviata production, but I definitely feel like I'm suffering from a false memory from when I first saw it. Originally, I had recorded a longer reaction, but in going back and watching the 2018 presentation, I realized that some of my criticisms were also in that presentation. And I like this production. And I liked the 2018 presentation. But for some reason, it just did not click with me. My entire criticism of it really starts from the beginning. There was this odd energy going on in the first act. And, watching the 2018 presentation and trying to remember what's going on, there really wasn't much change. So what happened? Well, there could be a couple different things. One, could be different camera angles showing different things, maybe giving you a different vibe versus what you may have liked in the first presentation. It's possible there were some things that maybe when Nadine was getting picked up by everyone, maybe there was just not a level of comfort with doing that. And I should probably, by the way, say that I actually did very much like Nadine's performance, but that part right there, that little 15 to 30 second part right there in the first act, in the first scene, really, in the first song, that right there kind of set a tone for the rest of the performance. And not a very good one. Pretty much everything after that first song was fighting an uphill battle. And it was not helped by some technical issues. And I had to look at the 2018 performance again to make sure I wasn't misremembering some things. And it turns out I might have been. Before we get into the technical issues, let's explain something about this particular production. This production starts with essentially the last scene. And it's more or less Violetta's memory within the last year of her life being flashed before her eyes as she's dying. And the way that the backstage team tries to tell the story is each part of it is a different season. Her meeting Alfredo is spring. It's supposed to represent the beginning of their love. Beginning of Act 2 is summer. It's supposed to be their love growing. The second half of Act 2 is fall, which is when it kind of dies off. And Act 3 represents winter, when it ends, tragically. Somehow, in each section of this opera, they use a purple light and they make Nadine look like a grape. Why do you do that? Look, I understand if purple is supposed to signify something, but why do you need it in the summer? And fall, there are different colors in fall, but purple isn't generally one of them. There are some times where you'll see it, but generally the colors that I think of when I think of fall are your reds, your oranges, your yellows. I don't really think purple. And then winter, just put like a blue light over them. You don't need it to be purple. Ugh. They made her freaking purple. At that point, just put a green light on her. Make her the Hulk. You wouldn't like Nadine when she's angry. I actually did forget about the Day of the Dead motif that they did at during the ballet part at the second half of Act 2. But again, I think there were some choices, maybe decisions on which camera to go to, that something didn't sit right. And again, I watched the 2018 version of that particular scene, and it just resonated better with me. I think I said in the short that it was over choreographed. I don't think that's actually the case. I think the choreography is the same, but a lot of it didn't feel as sharp as it was 4 years ago. And I remember there was another production, different opera, Carmen, I think it was, where things didn't necessarily feel as sharp the second time around or the third time around. I mean, go back and watch the 2010 Carmen, and you look at a lot of the direction, and it feels like it's executed very well. Things that feel like they should be on the beat are on the beat, and the choreography and the direction feels very sharp. You go a few years later with Anita in the starring role, things don't necessarily feel as sharp. You go a few years later from that with Roberto Alagna coming back to reprise the role of Don Jose. And things are slightly better, but again, there's some energy issues throughout the entire thing, specifically from the orchestra that day. And there's reasons for that. I think they were doing like some big Wagner thing the night before and they were just tired, but whatever. Some of those things you can fix, maybe hide. Like you can choose different cameras in post-production to hide things that may have gone wrong with your choreography. You can change some of the visuals in post-production so that she doesn't look as purple. There are other things though you can't really change. For instance, there was this odd reaction that Luca Salzi had, who was playing Giorgio German, where after he had already had his big conversation with Violetta, he was going to come in and sort of console his son after he essentially got dumped by Violetta. Now, he knew what was going on. He knew there was going to be a note given to Alfredo. But when he came in there, it looked like he had this huge smile on his face, and it's like he was oblivious to everything. It was like, what are you doing? You know what's happening. Comfort your son. And then after that, after the ballet, actually, there's the scene where where the music sort of builds tension on what's going on because Alfredo and Violetta with the Baron are at Flora's party. Alfredo is showing up and he's doing his thing. Violetta wasn't going to go, but then decides to go because, well, she's got nothing to do now. Not that she broke up with Alfredo. Alfredo's there for revenge. The whole thing is just awkward, and the music sort of builds on top of that. For some reason, this director decided to, I don't know if his caffeine just finally kicked in after the ballet, or he decided he wanted to just rush right through the scene. It was unnecessary, and it sounded like the performers were just struggling to keep up with this guy. It goes into the slower, more smoother parts where Violetta goes, da, 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 where she laments making the choice to actually come there and everything, all the choices that she's made up to that point. It feels like it's just a quick whiplash of we're going, and blah, da, da, da. And I realize those are two very different styles and sounds going on at the same time. But it doesn't need to be that much whiplash between the two. It was an unfortunate choice by the conductor, and one that harmed some very good performances going on. Again, Nadine did very well. I love the chemistry between her and Stephen Costello, who played Alfredo. Luca, despite that one gaffe, I would call it, was very good. Everyone else seemed like they were just fine, and were able to help raise up the main performers. I thought it was funny the guy who played the doctor actually has the last name of Corona. I'm 100% certain that's not why he was chosen for the role, but I'd like to think that's why he was chosen for the role. So yeah, I mean, if we're talking about La Traviata as a concert, this was really good. If we're talking about it as a stage production, this will probably be better in post, but it's still going to have some issues, especially compared to previous versions that the Met has put on. So yeah, I don't know about watching encore presentations of this, but I would probably say it might be worth watching when it comes to on demand, depending on how they fix it. And I hate that I have so many issues with the technical side of this that are just going to be fixed when we go to post. Like, I understand when you do something live, things are going to go
All
wrong.
the people have a little bit of... Let me do this again.
Oh, it's live, Hal.
Sorry.
But it just felt like there were a lot of things that just didn't work right. And it kind of hurt my experience that day. So what did you think about this presentation of La Traviata? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up because that helps the algorithm spread this video to others just like you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that also down below right next to the thumbs up. I will see you guys next time. Take care.